All right, hey guys, happy Sunday. I wanted to go over a sort of behind the scenes look at what is going to happen very short order about these Epstein files. All right, so we all know that Mike Johnson's out here playing games, right? He refuses to seat Adelita Grijalva. Well, that ticket's about to be up because there is a special election in Tennessee's 7th, which of course the Democrats are making a push for, but it is Republican heavy and very likely will lean towards this Republican candidate, Mark Van Epps, okay? And I think that election, it doesn't matter, but it ends like thereabouts 26th of November, all right? Which means that basically on or about the 1st of December, Mike Johnson's either going to have to seat them both, or he's going to have to say, I'm not going to seat my own, right, Republican House rep, which I find very unlikely. And just for clarification, yes, 100% he can seat these people without the government being open. I know he keeps saying that like, oh, we can't seat them because the government's not. That is absolute horseshit. Okay, now let's talk about behind the scenes, like the inner workings. It's House Resolution 577, okay? And right now, it's held up under something called the Rules Committee, okay? Which is, of course, you have the Republicans are in control. So no matter who's in control, the standing rule is that at 218 signatures on the discharge petition, right, that it says, hey, House Rules Committee, you can't hold this information back anymore because now 218, which is a majority of the House, all right, and I'll circle back to that in 1 second, they have signed a petition and it forces the vote to the floor. Okay. And I want to address, because there's been some confusion that like, oh, once he gets seated, this Van Epps guy, the Republican, that it's going to change the calculus. It doesn't change anything. Okay. They have 217 people who've already said that they would sign it. As soon as Adelita Grijalva comes in, she will be the 218th signature. Mark Van Epps, it makes no difference. He could sign it, not sign it, doesn't matter. Because as long as you get to 218, it doesn't make any difference. Okay. So what's going to happen? As soon as he seats Adelita Grijalva, right, she's going to be the 218th signature on this petition. And then what happens? You have the House clerk who immediately is going to send it up to the Department of Justice. It does, just for clarification, because I also hear some confusion about this. It does not need to go to the Senate. It does not need to go to the president. It's a House-only resolution. It goes straight from the House, straight to the Department of Justice, which sadly is led by attorney Pam Bondi, who we all know basically refuses to do her job. Once that happens, right, it compels Pam Bondi to basically have to prepare the files for release, posting them publicly on justice.gov or through a press conference. And guys, we're not talking about partial releases here. Like what was released earlier this year, which was BS because all of that was basically public knowledge anyway. We're talking unredacted flight logs, victim statements, all the things, all of it. Which is why they're fighting so hard not to have this signed in. So of course, that would make the files available to everyone, right? The victims, the public, the justice system. But here's where it gets complicated. You guys know Pam Bondi has a very long history of basically being loyal to Trump. She's going to claim, I guarantee it, executive privilege, arguing that releasing the files is going to compromise national security or ongoing investigations. It's of course silly because Epstein is already unalived and Maxwell has already been charged and is serving her sentence. Okay. And unfortunately, that could delay things for months or even years. I'm guessing well past the midterms. Now, it should be said that historically, those kinds of claims haven't worked well. Like Nixon tried to do that with Watergate. Trump even tried to do it with his tax returns. Ultimately, it was a delay tactic, but it didn't work because all of it came out. So then the next question is, what's going to happen after there's this fire sale of information, right? So a lot of people are going to say, oh, yeah, well, it's going to be impeachment, but it won't be. Because even though he may be able to get it through in the House, which is very unlikely, it would go to the Senate where you need 67 votes. We don't have it because, of course, the Dems are not in the majority there. Now, it is fair to say that the Republicans, in an attempt to save their own skin because they're now looking down the barrel of the midterms, some of them, enough of them, to force impeachment might jump ship. It's possible. It's highly unlikely because they would have to find their spine first. But it is possible that enough of them might jump over, right, and side with the Dems and say, yeah, we're going to impeach this president, really only as a political calculation to save their own ass. What's the most realistic outcome, okay? Is that you're going to have a partial release, at least in the beginning, redacted so that certain people look like they're not to blame. The DOJ is going to say that they're still reviewing the rest. And of course, Trump and Bondi are going to spin it as, oh, this is nothing new. But you can be certain that the files that get released immediately won't have Trump's name in them. But it won't matter because as these things go forward in time, as they always do, leaks will begin to surface. Public pressure will force another and another and another wave of releases. So here's a very realistic timeline for anybody who's interested, okay? Late November, Van Epps is sworn in. Johnson caves to pressure and he goes ahead and he seats Grijalva. Early December, you're going to have the discharge petition signed with the full 218 signatures. Mid-December, House is going to vote. Narrow but successful passage. Early 2026, you're going to see the DOJ slow rolling the release, citing national security reviews. And by spring 2026, we're going to see a partial dump. Leaks and lawsuits are going to eventually force more transparency. But again, the kicking and dragging, they're going to be right heels on the ground, trying to slow walk this thing past the midterms. So I just don't want anybody to think like, oh, as soon as Adelita Grijalva gets seated, then we're going to have everything. That's not how it's going to work. Oh, you guys let me know. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Pam Bondi is going to try to save her own, you know what? She's going to release the files? Or do you think that she's going to slow walk everything past the midterms when we then have a lame duck president? Bonus round for people who are still here. I think it's important to say that because it's very likely that we're going to see not just a blue wave, but like a blue tsunami in the midterms in 2026, that no matter what Pam Bondi does, right? Even if she slow walks it well past the midterms, it won't make any difference, because the second that if the Dems are able to take not only the House, which is very likely, but even potentially the Senate, well, then you will have some impeachment grounds there. So I feel like you're going to see a lot of people looking down, I'm talking about Republicans, looking down the road and going, yeah, this is over for us. Like we don't have enough runway left to save ourselves and save Trump. And they're going to have to choose. And what do you think they're going to choose? Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. Share this with a friend if you found it interesting.